Well, welcome everybody to this the Shifting Gears podcast, and I was just playing a little bit of Cruising USA before we got started here. I have Skull Crusher on the phone, and I might just play a little race here before we kind of really get into the topic that we want to. And give us a shout out in any of the chats. We're multi-streaming here. We're on Twitch, we're on YouTube, my second channel, and we're on Facebook. So let's see how well we can do here. Do one race and then we'll kind of get right into it. This game since high school or whatever. This is the N64 version. I should have downloaded MAME and done the arcade version, but it's much harder. And I'm trying out my new controller here. It's a little twitchy. Those are recommendations from Skull Crusher there. This is the same controller you're using.
Yeah, in fact, I'm actually using it right now.
Okay. Yeah, I'm finding the analog stick seems a little twitchy, but this game was always a little twitchy too, so it's just that. It's definitely not like the N64 analog stick, which honestly is pretty terrible. I guess we didn't know any better back then, right? Until the DualShock PlayStation was out, right?
Oh, I don't know. It was okay, I guess.
I just remember it seemed like it wore out in a little plastic bag.
Actually, I don't remember them wearing out, but they evidently do have some kind of a longevity issue because none of them that I have work anymore.
So do you still have your N64?
Yep.
Okay. You ever busted out too much? Well, I guess you don't.
I tried to. I tried to get a new remote for it, and I still had problems, so okay. I put it back away.
All right, we got first place there. I guess actually, I probably can't really see it because I'm covered up.
Yeah, you just drove through that all backwards.
Okay, let's see how well I can do here. Actually, I should. Let's see. Hold on. Let's oh wait. Let's do this a little bit. There we go. Let's move me.
Okay. There you go.
There we go. That's a little better. Maybe. Okay. We'll try one other time here, and actually get the game window size right. Well, I wasn't really planning on doing too much actually gaming, because we got an interesting topic that I think folks might enjoy here, and it's related to this. That's partly why I decided to set this up. You know, normally I don't game. So let's see where are we going next. That's
ready? Set, go!
I hate this track. And you know what? I hated this version of the track on Road Rash for the 3DS, which I have. Because, my God, you hit those buildings and do it about twice and you're dead.
Whoa!
Honestly, I don't know if I can't remember if the cars actually, if they actually had any different attributes in this game. Do you remember?
No, I don't.
I literally like just set this up. See that right there? I literally set this up just yesterday. Like, oh, you know what? Maybe maybe I can remember
it. Never played this game other than in the arcade.
Well, I didn't have an N64, but Sean did. We played this a lot. But yeah, my fondest memories are in the stuff recorded in the arcade machine. And I got pretty good at it at the arcade, but it still was, they made it impossible. Why'd you keep feeding the quarters? I'd never spend over $2 on any single game, like, to keep continuing.
Yeah, I didn't hardly ever throw that many quarters into anything. If I lost, then I was on to the next game, because I only had so many quarters.
Well, yeah, I mean... I think where I remember playing it the most is probably Big Apple.
Welcome to the Hall of Fame.
You know, I think that's the last place I played it, too. I think they still have it.
I would play it just like Pac-Man or Ms. Pac-Man. I would play it in other arcades, like, where I would see it. But I'd always have to put a quarter in Pac-Man. And then if I decided I had time after the fact, I'd play something like this. I do like the more modern physics of the more modern games, rather than this where you're like, all the cars are like that, stuck to the road. I didn't actually mean to do that. I meant to.
Well, it was kind of funny though. I was thinking that actually, compared to modern games, the when it goes over a jump, it's probably a little bit more realistic than they are.
Well, yeah. Well, see, GTA 3, you know, kind of spoiled us on like that open world, like just go dink around in the cars and the vehicles. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
See, actually, I wanted to slow up because I wanted to actually let the cars, like, make it run.
Well, and then you got Need for Speeds and
Oh, damn. Well, you know, I never played much of the Need for Speeds. I mean, I played them, but like, I don't have the nostalgic, like, feelings towards those. I just didn't play them enough, and I guess partly because I don't think the console versions were very good compared to the actual.
I liked but I always liked the Hot Pursuit ones where there was where the cop was chasing you and basically it didn't matter if you knew the track or not because you didn't know where the cop was going to catch you or you know, every time it was always different.
Oh, that's right. Wasn't that? Didn't you have that on PS1 or something? It's like in college you played that. Or
yeah, that's yeah.
Okay, is that the one? That's most of my gaming.
Yeah, that's where it started with Hot Pursuit. Yeah.
Okay, I guess we'll just keep going until I don't know. Like literally, this is a full playthrough. I did not. I played a couple of like US 101 races just to get the controller set up. And granted, I'm in easy mode here too. So. But again, I haven't played this game in well over 20 years. It'll be 2000. That's right before that. Actually, probably closer to 25 years. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. Paying attention. This is working very good. But I guess you're modern. I mean, this is what we were going to talk about. That's a good segue into what we will talk about. So you do play some modern games, obviously. What modern racing games have you into?
Right now, Forza Horizon is my favorite.
Okay.
Because
How old is that game?
you
I know
have
it's
to.
not super old, but
Well, it's on. They're already on their 4th gen, but I'm sure the 5th one's coming out. you know, momentarily because of the new upgraded consoles.
Okay. Well, I'm hoping folks out there, YouTube and Facebook and Twitch land can hear you. I can hear you good enough. I can't control the volume.
Well, maybe I had the mic weight a little bit.
No, I can hear you
away.
just fine. I'm just hoping everybody else can. Because I guess I didn't think that maybe I could mess with the volume settings. Like, I can hear you fine. I just hope for everybody out there. This is the first time we've done this, folks, so that's kind of why looks like we're kind of winging this. Jeez, am I going to just make it all the way through this whole thing? The easy mode? Like, I thought, like, 3 races in. It'll get harder.
Anyways, I kind of like that game just because you have to drive to each race.
You were sort of telling me, and I don't know, actually you weren't telling me, well, you were telling me on stream, on your Twitch streams, you were playing it, I was in your position, and you were telling me how it plays, because we were, well, I guess we could talk about this.
Oh, that's right.
We were kind of giving each other hell last night through text, or the other night through text. You know, here I got a fairly high-end gaming rig to run like an emulator that can run like a game that I can emulate literally on a $5 Raspberry Pi board. And here you are with your console and your, you know, a decent, you know, gaming laptop, and like all into it, and like here I have the rig that would be perfect for that, and it's like those games just scare me too much, I guess. And we really need to get him on here, Derek. We were talking about the buttons. Maybe we need to give context for the folks out there. But yeah.
Well, it started off with you talking about your remote, which is basically, if anybody's seen it, is basically an Xbox remote with a wire on it, and the reason why you bought it was
stop with a wire on it. See, I thought all controllers had to have wires. You mean the Xbox One's going to become wireless these days?
The only time you have a wire on it is if you it's like a USB port, like if you're gonna charge it up.
Oh, okay.
You don't have wires nowadays. I guess the only reason this one has, you know, these remotes have wires on them is because they're just cheap. So
okay,
they're like $15 on Amazon. But you bought that because I bought it for my laptop.
Right, because you wanted to download mods for another game.
Well, I guess, yeah, kind of a perfect storm kind of happened, because my laptop quit, and I was looking around at I was shopping for new laptops, trying to figure out what I wanted, and I come across this gaming laptop, and I was like, oh, this is actually pretty good price. And
well, no, it's an excellent price and an excellent spec for the price you paid. Because actually, like the graphics card, I mean, of course, it's a laptop version, but the processing part of it is actually the same graphics card. The same generation, virtually the same graphics card that I'm using now. Mine, just because it's a desktop version, like it's just ever so slightly better, but for all intents and purposes, for what we're doing, it's the same.
But so I got it. Well, I didn't want I needed something to play for a remote, so I bought this $14 Xbox remote. And
I gotta say, I like it, but I gotta get used to it, and that's why it looks like I'm really twitchy at this game. Of course, as I remember, it's a little bit of a twitchy steering using the analog stick, which is, for games like this, is what I kind of prefer.
But kind of going into our conversation about last night, so it started with, we were talking about this, and our other friend was brought up, well, I need no, maybe it was you. Someone brought up that they needed the old D-pads, or
well, I mentioned
something like
D-pad. Well, no. Okay, back the train up. You sent a picture of the NES Advantage and said, this was my jam.
No, I sent that after you started talking about all I need is a joystick and one button.
Oh, okay, right.
And I said I had, I had this growing up, and then you guys started dissing on it. I'm like, that was actually a pretty awesome remote.
Well, I guess I was dissing because a friend, he moved away, like when we were in the elementary. But probably the first time I ever played an NES was at his house, and he had one of those, and it probably was because, sleepovers and stuff. I got to play NES when we were over at his house, and we played the Atari 2600. Of course, that's the joystick for one button that I'm talking about here. And I guess I was just that was gaming to me. And he's like, oh, well, I can do this. It's awesome. It's got a joystick. You'll do better at... Well, no, I think it was like, you'll do better at the games because it's got a joystick. You're used to a joystick versus the D-pad. You gotta remember this, the idea of a D-pad was still like a new thing because I also played like in a television with that stupid disc, and let's see, ColecoVision had kind of a semi-joystick with a disc, like pretty tip, and then anything else was joystick, like computer games. And that's probably why I thought it was always so terrible, because it's like, this is nothing like my Atari, but it was probably mostly just getting used to the games at the time, because it's like, well, he could sit there and play for hours. Like, think of like a kid's sleepover. It's like, okay, I would only get like maybe a couple hours to actually play the games if we'd have to try. He'd be able to practice. I could only play whenever we went to his house, like after school, or like I said, like a sleepover time. So I didn't get a chance to like learn a D-pad very well. So I'm probably biased.
Well, I think you are, because in my opinion, like that advantage, I had a lot more control over how I was playing than, or at least that's how I felt, anyways.
Did it have the turbo button? I know there was something called like the NES Max had the turbos, and that had.
I don't, it had. I think it had one, but I don't ever remember using it.
Ready, set, go!
I'm waiting to like really stick it Like I said, I'm on the easiest mode. That's probably why. I guess that's good. It's a pick up and play. That's the thing about modern games that scare me about them. It's like, yeah, I got the hardware to play them and make them so it's a nice curve monitor here, so to kind of get a little bit of an immersive effect. But it's like too many buttons, and just can I just pick up Forza and play, and have a good time?
I think so, but to me it seems like basically this remote makes it so that you're like actually driving the car. I mean, instead of using, what I mean is like, instead of using your feet, it's just translate over to how you drive a car.
Yeah.
With your fingers.
Well, I always wondered how good, and I'm sure there are like little ones, but I always wondered how good, wheels and pedals have come these days. Because it doesn't seem like, I try to watch some techie channels and more modern gamery stuff, and it doesn't seem like a lot of people talk about the wheel, or use the wheels and pedals so much, that kind of stuff.
I don't know. I don't know if they use them so much for car games. I do know that they use the heck out of them on the farm sim game.
Well, I would. That's kind of where my mind is going. Is like, how is that?
And American Trucker, any of those simulation games, I know a lot, pretty much like not everybody, but a lot of the main streamers and they all have them. That's what they're running. But that's also getting up there into how much money you're spending too.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, those gotta be a lot of money. But I guess, and of course, I don't have a lot of time to watch streamers. But when I have, and you know who I'm talking about, doesn't necessarily use the wheels and stuff like that. But I think it would be kind of cool for the trucking ones, or well, even like combat stuff a little bit. Maybe. I don't know. Do you think it would really add to those type of games? You're into them, so would it really?
I don't know if it would or not. I guess if you wanted to make it as realistic as possible, yes. But like I'm just playing this just because it's a game. It's just a way.
I mean, I think that's
no, the main reason, like the whole reason I play Farm Sim, at the end of the day, the whole thing is because it's a nice, relaxing way at the end of the day to just not have to think about what was at work today or
I think that's what a lot of people do. I would like to be able to do that more, but I got kids and stuff. I got plenty of other distractions. That's why I wish I could get more videos out, which this is on my second channel for you folks watching. And if I archive it, maybe I'll put it over on the main, trying something a little different. But and if you're on Twitch and Facebook, be sure to subscribe over there. But I have a recent video up where I built a little miniature TV, and of course that's more what my audience wants to see rather than my gaming and stuff. So that's why
Welcome to the
I don't
Hall
do it
of
so much.
Fame.
But maybe I should do more of it for a second channel. I don't know. Just a thought. But anyway, we got way off topic, and I guess I'm using an automatic here, but we could automatically shift to kind of the topic I know you wanted to. Okay, well, I didn't win there, so guess it's about time to shut that down so we can just have it run in the background. Anyway, exotic cars. You had told me you wanted to talk about them, and you had seen something.
Well, I just got to thinking about it. I mean, like just some that I've seen and stuff, but I guess kind of what got me thinking about the topic was so I was driving home from work the other day, and I don't know if knew this, but they built a new hotel here, and it's on my way to work, and when I was driving home, there was a Dodge Viper sitting there.
Okay.
And this was the early style Vipers, and so this is kind of what got me into thinking about this topic about what kind of exotic cars have we seen. So, and I mean, so the Viper, there's this one I've never seen before, and I think this person, obviously it was at a hotel, they were probably passing through, but there is someone in this area that does own one, and I have seen that one before too, but anyways, but it's also not something that you see every day either.
Right.
So, and then
well, speaking of that, I saw and this is a ways back. Let's see. Maybe I even have a picture I can put up here. But it was a Lamborghini Gallo, or Gallo, however they say that. I should know, but let me see if I can find a picture of that. Anyway, it was at the DMV. The dude was getting plates for it. Um, just parked out front. Um, I'll be searching my hard drive here while we're going here.
Well, and this is kind of something else too. Is like, so the other day I was at a drive-through, and right next to the drive-through is another a different motel, because this is a different town, and I saw this car. It kind of looked like a one of those what are they, the Pontiac, was it Solus, I think is
Oh,
what they were
yeah,
called.
the Solstice, which, to be honest,
Yeah,
I kinda would like
that doesn't surprise me.
just
Anyway,
because. Yeah, well, we can talk about that later. Anyway, a Pontiac Solstice. All right.
so so I thought, that's kind of like what it looked like, sort of, but not completely. It was just enough different, and I was just like, well, what kind of a car is that? And so as I was going through the drive-through, getting closer and closer, um, I was finally able to see the front emblem on the hood, and it was a Ferrari. And I'm like, how out of touch am I with these cars now? I've never seen a Ferrari like that. So I was like, did I see this right? So I had to go to the Google machine, and I found out it was I think it was an 812, is I think what they're called.
Okay. Well, okay. Funny part is I you see my shirt and what shirt I'm wearing, and of
Yeah.
course, and and of course, you know a lot about me and everything, and you've ridden in one of mine, or probably many of them.
And I've also driven my own.
And well, that's right, you've owned one too, but I own several, kind of collect them. But anyhow,
Yeah, yours was in a lot better condition than the one I
well,
had.
okay, yeah, but we can. You know what? Yours is more like the norm, usually in what you find them in. Anyhow, I this is back really kind of shortly after I got it, so this is early on, and I think I was where was I? I was at the bank, or was at somewhere, and some kid asked me, "What kind of Ferrari is that?" I mean, and when I say kid, he was a driving age. Wasn't like some little kid that possibly didn't know anything. But then again, even adults that aren't into cars, they don't. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not judging. I'm just saying this seemed like a kid that might know something. Well, to even just well, maybe because it was red. I guess I don't know. Probably the
Well,
logo.
they
Probably the
do, but
logo
they do,
on the
but they,
emblem.
between the by the logo, and then they kind of do a little bit. I mean,
Well,
granted, they're not
maybe
dead
maybe if
on,
maybe
but
if you squint a little bit, they look like it. Um, but no, it's funny you say that.
well, and
Like,
it would also depend on if it was a GT, because I could see it even more with certain models of the Fiero GT.
yeah, mine was the '88 and had that more arrow nose. Yeah, the earlier ones, tell you the truth, could look a little bit more like that. I guess part of it would be um the fact that yeah, that they were in the same era as like the Miami Vice, and such. That the Is that
Yeah.
the 308 or like the F40 or something? Actually, they kind of look like they could look sort of like an F40, I guess. But like I said, you'd have to squint a little bit. But honestly, we're talking about exotics, and I've seen one up close, a couple of them actually. Never got to drive one, and maybe I don't want to. It's kind of like never meet your heroes in real life kind of thing. But it's not my absolute dream car because that's a different car. We'll talk about that in a bit. I think I actually mentioned it on the podcast, but one of my, I guess, dream cars, not my ultimate dream car, is I don't know what year, but like a like the Magnum PI. I think that's a 308 GTO or something like that, and I think that's or that's one. And I guess that's the thing. That's why it's like, well, maybe if you squint real a little bit, the Fiero would look like it. But that's the thing about my Fiero, the 5 speed um and whatnot. It and being so light, it get up and go, and went around corners really well. I mean, it was fun to drive swiftly, I guess. Wouldn't call it. It wasn't fast by any means, but you could drive it swiftly. I mean, for example, well, you rode along some of those when me and Derek used to race around a little bit, or you knew he had his 300Z, and you know, in like a kind of road course type of situation, they were pretty evenly matched. Obviously, if there was a long straight, he's just going to take off. Illusions of that, but yeah. But my ultimate dream car would be a Lamborghini Countach, um, preferably white, the gold rim, not the black one. Everybody had the poster. Well, I had the poster too, but I don't know. I guess I kind of like the white one. I don't know. That probably stems back to like Miami Vice and those white suits that Don Johnson, right? Are you remembering that right?
I think so. I
Yeah.
think so.
And
I wasn't really. I
Tubbs
knew
and
enough
Crockett or
about the
whatever.
show. I just didn't watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well. Speaking of the Magnum PI, and that's actually one of the things I was kind of thinking about when I was thinking of this topic. So, oh, that has to have been about 30 some years ago. Dating myself there, but anyways, I've actually seen the Magnum PI car, and I mean, I'm talking about the one they actually used on the set.
Was it at Universal?
Yes.
Because then I've seen it too. Because yeah.
So, well, I guess I shouldn't say for sure that they used it on set. It could have been, but anyways, it was supposed to be Magnum PI's car, and right next to it, and this is a little bit off topic, and I'm not trying to shift gears here, but
That's okay. That's the point.
Right next to it was the A-Team van, but it was the van that they used when they needed Mr. T to like pull it out of the mud or something. So it was all
Oh, okay.
It was all white, and they encouraged you to pick it up, and even though it was all lightened up and everything, there was still a whole bunch of us kids. Well, I mean, we were all kids, but there was still a whole line of us kids mud or something on the back bumper of this A-Team van trying to pick it up. Which I mean, it did go, and you could tell. I mean, there was no weight to it, or hardly any weight to it.
Right. Yeah.
But
Well.
yeah,
I guess that's right. They did that a lot. Yeah, for different things. And actually, it's funny you say that because back in my parents' day, long before I was born, the $6 million man, had a deal. Yeah, was it $6 million? Well, anyway, but they had when you said that, you could pick it up. Well, they had a van that you could, go up to and pick up. So how to simulate, superhuman strength and whatnot. And there's a picture of my mom picking it up, and that was it. Like I said, Universal. Tagging you in something here. Come on, we got to get some people in here. Actually, there's a couple people. It shows here. But anyway, so other exotic cars, I guess. Even if it's at a car show, what uh, have you have you seen? I guess our term
Well,
for exotic
I
could be
haven't
called.
really because like I said, I mean the only ones exotic that I see in car shows around here are Vipers, but um one that I have seen that's around here um is a I think it's an Audi. I can tell you that for sure. I want to say it was one of the $400,000 ones, like whatever because I looked it up one day. It was like I think they're R8s, or maybe I could be completely wrong on that. It's been a few years, but one of the doctors up in Kearney, I'm assuming it's a doctor because it was at Good Samaritan
Well, wouldn't it have to
Hospital.
be? Maybe we're
Yeah.
stereotyping.
it
Oh, wait a
was
minute.
well, it was parked at Good Sam, and it was there for
Well,
a long. I
okay.
mean, it was there on a regular basis, so you'd assume that it was probably a doctor.
Yeah. Yeah, more than likely.
But um,
But oh yeah, okay. But yeah, the Ferraris. Let's see, Lamborghinis. Let's see. Now, okay. Speaking of that, and I said that that'd be one of my dream cars. Uh, but actually, it's kind of a speaking of the you never want to meet your your heroes or your idols. Um, those are they're neat to look at, but the fit and finish and I don't think it was just this owner because I it didn't look like it was neglected, but just the kind of fit and finish of those, they're not as great as you'd think they would be, and they have very few like real features. I mean, kind of like the Dodge Viper or the early ones, like the first and second gen, have no or little to no um, driver aids or any. They're just a raw car, and that's what this is. And
well, but Vipers are known not to be a car that a common man can drive.
well, yeah, and actually, of course, everybody's probably watched some of the reviews now with YouTube and everything like that. It's not as uh, surprising, but it's like they're they're not good. They're not really that great of a car, and they honestly, I remember like the road tests and stuff at the time didn't praise them super highly, other than just sheer visceral experience of the thing. If you're a good driver, of course, they were for you, but you couldn't just like the Corvette, you know, you can just drive it if you want to. Like so I've heard Vipers, those early ones, you don't just drive them. You almost can't just drive.
Well, no, part of it is the long wheelbase, and then part of it is how much power the engine puts out. It's just
Well, that and then just simple features of like well the first generation, like having roll up windows, you can't lock it. You can't really go anywhere in it unless you're gonna continually drive. Because like you can't park it without there's like I said there's no real way to secure it, I guess. And then but
I didn't know that about them, but
oh
learned
yeah,
something
well
new today.
yeah. Actually, everybody ought to go watch RCR's kind of review one. That's what I understand. And you know what? At Bandimere Speedway, almost had a chance at the Mopar show to just ride down the track in one, and it was a deal where I just didn't want to wait in line, and because of the Viper Club or whatever there was giving rides in them. I mean, you had to sign up and everything. Everybody and their dog wanted to. And that would have been the first gen because they were still very much new. I mean, 95 or something when that happened. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know, speaking of exotic cars, you know, we were talking about like wouldn't want to own them and stuff, but you know, what about these driving experiences where you could just like um you go and rent some track time. Basically, that's what you're doing is you're renting the car and some track time, and um, it's roughly I think it's roughly about 10 laps. I've kind of looked into them a little bit, so I kind of know a little bit about them. But yeah, it's like roughly 10 laps. You get to take the car out and go drive, and they're I don't know what are they about $300 for the experience.
Something like that.
I I don't know. I've always been because it's like kind of expensive, but it's like also at the same time it's like kind of don't get to do that. So
Well, yeah, you know what? That kind of stuff here. You know what? I decided I'm gonna. We'll still keep talking, but um, let's see. Yeah, I would like to do that. I just uh, I guess I don't want to embarrass myself because it's like maybe I'm not as great a driver as I think I am, and I don't. And here's the thing: I don't think I'm that great of a driver, to be honest. I mean,
oh
not any, I'm out of. I guess I should say I'm out of practice. That's again, we get old red line in here sometime, and we'll talk some we can all talk some driving stories.
well, you know, I mean, because we both granted we didn't road race or anything like that, but
Well, we didn't have any roads. We just had
we
dirt roads and like 2 paved roads in the
well, but
county.
I'm talking about like we raced dirt bikes and
Well,
four
yeah,
wheelers and
we weren't
stuff.
into the
And it's
car
like
racing. Yeah,
no, but I'm like I kind of think that mm, I don't. I kind of think that puts us in a little bit different category, and I kind of think that it's a little bit of a like if you'd get into it, you'd probably be like it's kind of like a bike with you know, like you haven't ridden a bike in a while, but you'll kind of remember it.
right. Well, that's true because like we used to, of course, mess around and do that. It's kind of funny we never got
And
it.
it's not like they're gonna let you like completely loose with the thing.
Well, no, I mean, yeah.
You
Actually, I
only
would
pay
like to
three
go to
hundred
one of those
dollars.
performance driving schools, and I've thought about it. If because some insurance companies uh will give you um discounts for certain of those stuff, but most of them are like kind of like the hazardous driving school, like in the winter and winter driving and stuff, which I'd like to do that too because I just that'd be beneficial just overall. Um, but if I thought I'd spend the money if it would in a way pay me back over time. Um, but yeah, it'd be fun to do. Actually,
I don't know. I'm just like if I'm paying $300, I'd like a few more laps than like 10. You know what I mean?
well, right.
I mean,
Well,
like I want it at least maybe a minimum of like let me have it for half an hour, and
yeah.
I'll bring it back, and you know I suppose you know that's $100 every 10 minutes. I'd probably feel like I'd probably got my money there then.
I suppose. What about and you're still kind of a NASCAR fan, right?
No,
Not
not
anymore. Okay, well,
really, not
okay.
really.
What about like a NASCAR experience type thing? One of those deals. I think they have
I
ones
would,
where
I
you
had,
can
I would, yeah, I would like to do
where
one
you
of
can
those
drive.
too. Just
I think they have it where you can drive. Now, granted, it's not a full blown, but it's the closest mortals will get to those kind of cars. I think they have, you know, a version of a NASCAR that you can drive. I thought, or is those are
yeah,
they? Because I know they have the ride along things, which would be fun, I think too. But maybe I don't know a little bit of I don't know. I don't want to say boring, but kind of it'd lose something in it because okay, all you're doing is getting to feel the G forces and stuff. But I feel like the way we grew up and stuff, we've experienced versions of that. I guess I can think of
You
a
know,
I can think of a drop top Camaro um, turning onto Main Street from the highway at 60 miles. So I figure that's probably similar to the entry G load of a bank turn on a NASCAR.
but for me, I guess I think what they do is they like basically it's like a if the guys were doing their what do you call that their laps at the beginning to kind of get them figured
Warm
out where they're
ups or
gonna
whatever.
pull laps or whatever you call them. I can't think of what they call them now. But anyways, I think that's kind of what you do is like they let you out there for like you go out there for 2, 3 laps after you took their class or whatever, and um, but I think it'd just be fun to just be able to just have one of those cars just going while you're going around the track. I think it'd be
Yeah. Now I guess it begs the question because I asked you, you still watch NASCAR because you used to, whole family really. Um, so not so much anymore, I guess. Uh,
no because all the guys that I used to watch have all retired, and
okay, okay. And where I'm going with this is, and I sent you a link in actually a text message, and you're gonna have to book some time to watch it because it's about a 30-minute video. But and you know me, I wasn't really a NASCAR fan. Like I didn't hate it, but I kind of lampooned it, of course. And but I didn't set my clock to watch it nearly even as much as how you would do it. But anyway, this video is about NASCAR, and it's called "The Art of Revenge." And this guy does a good job of, I think, going over kind of some of the rivalries and stuff, especially out of not the early era, but the when it was getting to its most popular. Even when there was some of the the legends still in it. I think you'll enjoy it because you'll have probably remembered watching all the races and all the, I guess, quote, drama through this, like with uh he points out multiple stuff from going into the 90s into the 2000s when NASCAR was arguably probably its biggest, because I know it's kind of waned a little in recent
yeah, well,
years.
it's not just so little.
And I think that was because I remember the whole switch and stuff, the whole car tomorrow and all that, and I was like, that seems like that's going to take some of the fun out of it, but or well, not take the fun out of it, but make it more like like the BMW series or F1 and stuff where the cars are almost the same. But anyway, beside the point, this video is very good because it like some of the like the early Dale Jr. days, the Kevin Harvick era, kind of Chase Elliott era of those rivalries, and well, some of those other guys that were in the same era, the old and the young guys, Gordon, of course, in there. But you really ought to give it a watch. And then that same channel's also got a very good, if I want to call it documentary, because it's definitely not done in a traditional documentary style, but it's about Dale Earnhardt and whatnot. It's well put together. But yeah, I just wondered if you even watched it anymore because I ran across it, and the video's not that old. It's like really only like I think a couple weeks old now. This channel just came out with it. It's kind of an unknown channel to me because it's more of like an internet history, and well, the channel actually got his start on YouTube making YouTube poops. and then puts out content like this that is like pretty engaging and just well researched and well presented, because he went and grabbed all the archival footage, obviously ripped from YouTube more than likely, but put it all together to tell the story of say he goes through a bunch of like rivalries or okay, this guy was, had nothing to lose, so he rams this guy, and this guy just did it to be a dick, and then this other guy, the nice guy, and all that. Anyway, like I said, you probably remember all the drama. Like, it was all new to me. I mean, I knew the driver name and I knew some of the history. Like, okay, you don't mess around with this you know this guy's kid because he's one of the OGs, kind of thing. uh the one thing about NASCAR is I just never got the fandom around it, I guess. Like the insane fandom, and I'm not saying you were one of those. Just the types that would have to buy the jackets and all this, and like
Yeah.
the couples that have the matching, whoever was the M&M guy, I mean, it's just, I mean, I get it. I get it. It's like where we wear our motocross gear and stuff. Okay. We look like clowns walking around too, so, I'm not throwing stones, kind of thing, but just, it is just like, it's like, well, at least what we were doing at the time is like kind of attainable, sort of, or at least there was a shred of attainability to it, whereas like that, absolutely not, in my opinion. But but
No, because you have to be picked up by one of those teams in order to you can't just not there's got to be a lot of money behind you to get you if you're gonna do it privateer wise. So
yeah,
that doesn't really happen.
well, I guess that's the thing, and I mean,
Even the guys that are kind of low budgeting it, and they're like they have a car. Some owner bought has put a car together. They probably bought their owner or their engine from one of the big NASCAR shops,
right.
And they still have a team to pit, and they're not like the guy that showed up at his local track um with his car that he spent all week putting together himself, and he doesn't have a
Well,
pit crew with him. And
like traditional dirt track, modified, so you can go anywhere
yeah.
in rural America. Which it's funny that we didn't sort of go down that road. I guess I just didn't grow up in that kind of a family, and
Well, part of that is like
I guess I grew up in a family with
that
motorcycles.
that sport is expensive though too.
Well,
it's like what we did. I mean, granted, yeah, you had to buy a bike, but you can get a bike from a shop relatively cheap. You don't have to, and you don't necessarily have to wrench on it every weekend to get everything tuned right. It comes that way. It's ready to run from the shop.
Yeah, well, no, that's the thing, is it's like, even though that's quote cheap racing, it's still dang expensive, and I guess that's where
it is.
and I guess that's where the fandom thing, and I guess you can look at it football and all that, where people's like whole like self worth is they tie their self worth, I should say, to a player or a team or a logo for that matter, and that's kind of what NASCAR. That's I guess what took me away from it, because when I grew up and was growing up and figured out learned what NASCAR was through TNN, the Nashville network, when they had well, it was along with that Saturday morning block of like automotive programming. They had I think it was called Inside Winston Cup Racing back when Winston cigarettes, of course. Wow, I just barely did. Winston cigarettes was the title sponsor, um, and they they talked about the current NASCAR, but it was a lot about the history and stuff, and so my view of NASCAR was always, well, oh yeah, it was the small town, the local. I mean, yeah, you still had to have some money in it, but they were real cars, dealership cars, and then they tore the interiors out of them and stuff and went racing,
Yeah.
I guess. So let's see. The N64 version oh no, the N64 version doesn't have Bill Clinton in the hot tub. I guess that must be only the arcade version. It just shows your car. Okay.
Why is it just randomly on top of the
On top of the
White House?
Well, because
and there's like a whole country setup up there.
Well, have you? Okay, I mean, I'm lying. I'd be lying if I said I got there on the arcade, but I've watched playthroughs of the arcade, and in the arcade version, which of course came first, at the end there, instead of your car and the leveling up, it's had Bill Clinton in a hot tub with some with the bikini babes there, and he's like going like, I forget what he says. He's they dubbed his voice saying like woohoo or something like that, and then it's rolling the credits like it's doing here. And let's see, I want to continue. Oh, maybe I gotta wait for. But anyway, yeah. Anyway, where were we? Oh yeah, old NASCAR. So that's the thing is, I was like, oh wow, NASCAR used to be cool. It's like real cars kind of. And then here it is, these, like, well, in my time it was what Days of Thunder looked. That's what NASCAR looked like, was kind of like Days of Thunder. At least that's what the cars looked like. So it kind of was like, oh yeah, that's not something you do in real life. Whereas like what we did with our motorcycles and stuff, motocross and quad racing and stuff. It's like, well, yeah, we'd never be super duper, but it's like, we could at least go racing and pretend like we were somebody. Let's see. See, I should have a faster car. So. Oh yeah. But yeah. So I'll stick. Guess I didn't really want to upgrade this one. Different, but anyway, okay. And I forget who was the drivers you like? Because we could get into motocross at a later date, but who was the drivers you liked?
Was into Jeff Gordon only.
Only Gordon? Okay.
Oh yeah.
Now, I mean, I know
back when I originally got into it, that's all I was ever into.
What got you into?
Which is kind of funny because like most people didn't like him, especially in the start.
Well, I guess that's what I was gonna say. Is I thought not a lot of people liked him, not because he was a dirty racer or anything like that, but he was too squeaky clean and like because his daddy had bought his way in or something. Maybe that's just a rumor thing. But
I was really mainly into him just because at the time, I was young and I guess you'd say impressionable. So he was the one went running the races.
Well, he
so I'm
definitely
like, well, I'm going with him.
Yeah, well,
I'm going with
he had a
him.
marketable ability. He was definitely more marketable and like had a presence. Like all the other guys, of course, like the guys I'm thinking of. Well, even like Earnhardt, was that, you know, oh, we gotta work on the car tonight. Like he had to dip a chaw in, which he probably did, had to dip a chaw in his mouth and couldn't understand what he was saying. And then like the other ones, were kind of mealy mouthed, and he definitely wasn't. But
Yeah.
uh, so I guess I
Well,
could see
yeah.
that. Um,
That was back when you could win the Winston Cup.
well, yeah, yeah. Well, and it just did. I forget who took it over right after Winston. Was it Nextel, the cellular company, or what? It didn't matter. It'd been Winston for so long, and all the history I'd ever heard, it just seemed
Well,
it didn't
that
it
that
didn't
rocked
seem
not just NASCAR. That also rocked the NHRA and everybody
yeah. Well, I
when all
remember
that
I remember
stuff went
being at
down.
Bandemers in the as a kid in the box seats occasionally because we're friends. We're kind of friends, family friends of the Bandemers. Uh, anyway, long story on that. But I remember, they were no smoking boxes, and so there were signs that says, "Please no smoking. Smoke your Winstons outside" or something. as if you couldn't smoke any other cigarette there. I remember as a kid, I wasn't stupid, thinking that's kind of it's kind of goofy. I thought it was kind of goofy, you know, because I knew they were cigarettes. It's like, but God, yeah. Now there's because of regulation. I know.
Well, and I'm trying to think if that was kind of I guess that was one of the first tastes for us. Thinking of what we now call cancel culture. I mean, technically, that would have been one of the first instances of it.
Well, yeah, you could
Yeah,
say.
I don't know what year that was because the only other thing I could think of that was kind of trying to go that way was when they came out with the explicit lyrics stuff too.
Well, that
I,
was the late '80s,
uh,
because wasn't it? Oh, what's his name? D. Snyder,
well,
I guess.
it was, yeah, D. Snyder, but that was when Al Gore was vice president and
Okay, well,
invented
that's the
invented
'90s.
the
I mean,
internet supposedly.
well, yeah. Well, as never been a smoker, like I said, it didn't affect me, but um, you know, I guess public health and all, I guess it's okay, but it's like, well, people kind of have the freedom to, smoke all the cancer sticks they want too. There is that viewpoint, so but anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just that's a way shifting off topic
My
from what we normally talk about.
well,
But it just was weird
the only reason
because all the
the
history
only
of like
reason
NASCAR is Winston this, Winston Cup this, and Winston Cup that, and then all of a sudden it's Coca Cola something, or yeah, or like I said, Nextel, or who knows, just the song.
I
Like
think it did good. I think it did good next till.
I just remember the NHR. It was like NHRA was Winston NHRA. It was the Winston Nationals or whatever, and I just remember when it went to, like, I think Coca Cola picked it up, the main title sponsor, but they applied their Powerade brand to it, because obviously it was trying to build it up to the Pepsi's Gatorade, or Pepsi owned Gatorade. And I just the
Yeah.
Powerade Nationals or whatever. I'm like, what the hell is this? Because again, I was younger at the time, still in that impressionable, and I'm like, Powerade sucks, Yeah, the
Well,
real
and
the real drink, sports drink, that was Gatorade, only Gatorade, not Powerade, not All Sport or whatever that garbage was that was there for a little while.
Well, and I guess the whole point of that, their whole point of that was, well, it might, if you hear the name Winston Cup, you might want to start smoking Winstons, and then it's like, um, no, I don't really care, but you're changing the name of what I've grown up
Well, that's
what I've grown up with, and it seems very pointless. It still seems very pointless. It's
well,
just
that's an interesting way
trying
to
to say
put it because it's kind of like
trying to say the Nextel Cup does not roll off the tongue like
well,
Winston Cup
that's
did.
maybe it. And it's kind of like when football teams when they lose the stadium loses its title sponsor. It's like it's almost like that's not the same place, like location or whatever. Team could be the same and all that, and of course the city. Well, even uh 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 like whole football teams like the one I think of is the Raiders. It to me it's always the Los Angeles Raiders. It's not the Oakland Raiders. you know it, it just I don't know.
With that team, it's
Well, I mean, forget the
I've
internal
it's
politics around it. It's just
it,
I'm never a fan of the team, but it just is weird when I would hear when somebody'd say, "Oh, they're playing Oakland." I'm like, "Who?" You know?
Oh, well, that team, they seem to always pick the towns that work best for their
Well,
name.
it's a money making deal. I
Hey,
get it, and
like,
that's like the sponsorship deal.
what I'm saying there is like,
Profit
like
deal.
they almost became the San Antonio Raiders. They're here not too many years ago. It's like, well, that doesn't really roll off the tongue.
Well, yeah, like I said, I get it. It's a profit deal. Yeah, but that's from The Jerk. Anyway, Steve Martin. But but yeah, it just doesn't. Like I have some memorabilia, and it all says Los Angeles. Uh, but the same deal goes with. Well, it even goes with our, because we're more into motocross, supercross. Of course, it's been Monster Energy for so long, and that kind of makes that rolls. That sounds good, but it was Boost Mobile, and then it was THQ, and I can't even remember before that. Well, yeah, it had cigarette sponsors, Camel, for a long time, but it's just weird if like some other company would want to be the title sponsor of Supercross. If now it'd be kind of like it would seem weird to be something other than Monster Energy. Let's say Chevrolet or Ford or somebody like that decided to be the title sponsor. Ford Supercross or Chevrolet, or they'd shorten it Chevy, but Chevy Supercross. It just I don't know, just doesn't. Irregardless of how you feel about the brand, it just wouldn't feel right. I don't. I mean, because they don't just call it AMA Supercross. AMA. I mean, some people do, but the way it's branded when it's printed is not that. Coconut. Because I'm still first place. Medium difficult. Man, was this game maybe not that hard even back then? I swear it felt like it was harder. And like I said, I'm playing through this cold, and I don't have any cheats on. Yeah, but like NASCAR, NHRA, and then do you remember? Now I'm going reaching way back. I don't know if you remember. Again, TNN is where I would have watched it. But there was uh, NTPA, the National Tractor Pulling Association. Tractor pulls on TV, and get out of the way, you stupid minivan.
They might have been on.
Jeez.
I don't remember watching them too much. but I must have been exposed to them somehow because I kind of knew a little bit about them before they started showing up with the monster trucks around here.
Well, there was uh, that on TV, and then there was like mud racing. Uh,
I didn't get into mud. I
well,
definitely
I
didn't
didn't
get
either,
into
but there was kind
mud.
of those mud bogs and those modifieds. They had big skinny tires and or skinny wheels. I don't even know if you call them tires. It was almost like they had big tractor tires on the back, like kind of rice tires. So they were tractor treads, but very narrow, which is like a rice tire for a combine. But the front wheels were literally just like thin discs, probably more like a uh, to be more of as a rudder to steer through it. But I remember those being televised, and I mean I remember like watching it, but I also remember thinking like this is a highly specialized form of racing that is like incredibly slow. I mean, it was the slowest. It was like the tortoise versus the tortoise, but I mean, it was exciting because even though they were going so slow, because I mean, they're literally driving through like around a circular, you know, lake, river, moat, whatever you would call it, and um, and some of them could go kind of fast enough to sort of hydroplane a little, but I mean when I say fast enough, it's like maybe they were going 45, in the water, which is kind of fast for a vehicle
Hmm.
like that. But then they had the actual jeeps, like we're talking like real jeeps, uh but with mud tires, and of course those it's like 10 mile an hour. But my god, they would go through the real deep part, and they'd have they had snorkels and stuff. And I remember just like it was so slow, but because they're the undulating part of the bottom of the bog, it's like one guy get hung up, and it's like it was like record speeds of like 5 mile an hour, and like but the races would be so close even at like 5 and 10 mile an hour. But I was like, I couldn't think of anywhere around our where we grew up. Like, where would you do this? Where could you do this? Well, really, you couldn't.
No, well, you couldn't.
Not
That
like
was
this kind
more.
of racing.
Yeah, this was more. That was more of a southern thing.
Exactly, because this was like NASCAR, and I mean NASCAR in the mud, because they went around circles. It wasn't just like a drag race type thing, like we did have back there. But I remember it being televised, and my gosh, it's like, I only remember bits and pieces, and it's like, did that ever go anywhere? Tractor pulling and stuff was a big deal, or it still is a big. But I remember like that, and of course that'd come to the fairgrounds. Didn't it, speaking of that, didn't it seem like the monster trucks like outdoors and stuff before they built that the new arena and stuff? They used to do the monster truck shows and stuff outdoors and have tough trucks and all that. I remember going to a bunch of outdoor stuff, and I always thought, why wouldn't you have it outdoors more often? They got more room.
I didn't ever go to them until like the only ones outdoors I ever went to was the ones in Hastings.
Okay, yeah, but I'm talking like, remember, it used to be right next to, remember the old building that they had them inside. Outdoors used to be a big concrete grandstand, and that's where they used to do the livestock show stuff too, outdoors. But I remember watching like stunt shows there where they'd do the thing like roll the cars over and do the things where they'd run over a ramp, and um or even do things like where they'd run over, a guy'd put a board on his chest and they'd run the car over him kind of stuff, and light the guy on fire and all that stuff, and he'd jump off. um I remember they used to do that, and then it's like all of a sudden that like they I never remembered them having it, and I could swear it was that Checkered Flag Promotions did a lot of that at that time too. You know, what
Yeah,
was that guy's name? Do you remember
I
the?
don't know.
I don't
No,
know if
I
this
don't.
is necessarily the owner guy, but with the beard.
That guy was actually from Eagle, Nebraska.
Okay,
Um, I don't know how I know that. He was the bearded guy, and maybe he was the promoter. I don't know, but he
well, I
was
think he was the
actually
promoter.
he
He didn't
worked at
own the company. I know
he-
that.
no, he didn't. He worked at the racetrack. He supposedly, from what remember, he worked at the racetrack in Eagle,
Okay.
Eagle Raceway, and uh, and then he'd come in for the race, and maybe, like I said, maybe he was a promoter, and because
I just remember
the
that
company
big
was actually
wad of
based out of
roller
Texas.
cash he whipped out when he went to pay us. You know.
Yeah, because the company itself was actually out of Texas.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. I knew he wasn't the owner, but I mean, uh,
Which is, I don't know, and I don't know who actually owned that. So, because that was all weird how that was all connected, and I don't probably need to know either, but because like even though they weren't with Monster Jam or something, but they worked with those people a little bit, and then like uh but like now we just had one locally here, and that was actually done by the I'm sure everybody's heard of the truck. It's Bounty Hunter,
okay,
and the people that own Bounty Hunter and where it's based out of is actually in Kansas.
okay, I didn't
Um,
know that.
I don't know how many. Like it's a few hours away. Well, anyways, they were the actual people that set that whole thing up. The only reason I know that is like we've like we've ran into that circle enough that where to kind of look and stuff that
Yeah,
it was just I got a little bit interested about the promotions, who was doing it, because it's like, well, is it the same group that we used to know and stuff,
right.
and so I started looking into it, and I was like, nope, this one was put on by the Bounty Hunter itself, and um it's just like, because I thought it was awful weird that a Monster Jam truck was coming this way, but then again, I've heard, I don't remember it, but I heard Gravedigger's been out this way too.
Huh. Yeah, of course
Um,
that's almost a franchise deal. You know, it doesn't necessarily mean Dennis Anderson's in the truck, but
well,
you know
but
they.
but that's the same thing with Bigfoot.
Well, I
That's
know,
a
but I mean, I
franchise
think.
deal
Well, I
too.
guess what I'm getting at is I think Bigfoot started that, but I swear Gravedigger took it to like the nth level because they have something like 15 trucks or something. That it seems like I read that somewhere. Maybe it's not that quite that many, but it's a lot
Yeah.
that they're running around.
Well, but I think all those big monster truck companies do. Now, there's obviously there is a littler guy that they only have like maybe one or two trucks and stuff, um but when you're talking like Bigfoot and Gravedigger and stuff, yeah, they have like a fleet of trucks.
Yeah.
um it's always kind of funny to me is like, is okay, so I remember when I remember Bigfoot, but I also remember Gravedigger, and it would have been maybe more so when he was just starting out, because obviously he's had a really long career, and this was a while ago, but um I thought it was always funny that all of a sudden Bigfoot disappeared off of the seeing it on TV all the time.
Well, it's kind of weird. It's on for a while there. It seemed like the monster truck scene and I never stayed up and up on it, but seemed it was almost like it was almost like there was two organizations, kind of like WWF when it was that, or it was WWE, and WCW. It seemed like there was these one monster trucks that kind of all ran this circuit, and then there was the other ones, and I equated
I
like
don't see.
Bigfoot to
I don't
kind of
remember
Hulk
another
Hogan
circuit.
in WWF, and then I equated like Gravedigger more as uh, shoot, not Ric Flair, but who would you say was kind of the title guy for WCW? And yeah, but they're obviously they merged. But I mean, before that, when they were really duking it out, I can't.
Well, maybe more like a Sting,
Maybe that's who I'm
you know.
thinking of. Again, my memory's
Someone that's
foggy on
like
that stuff.
someone that everybody likes, but is kind of walks in the maybe a little bit more of a darkness type of role.
Well,
I think Sting
you know
would
what I
be.
mean is like when you thought WWF, when you heard WWF, at least in our day, you immediately thought of Hulk Hogan. Okay, yeah, there was other wrestlers. You had, of course, Andre the Giant, Million Dollar Man, Ted DiBiase, and Big Boss, and I'll probably date myself. Um, Jake the Snake Roberts, and oh, here we go, Coco Beware, but see WCW. Maybe it's because my TV was tuned to USA versus uh, uh, T what was it? Ted Turner's first TBS, not TNT, because that came later. Um, but who would you say was who was the face of WCW? If Hulk Hogan was WWF at the time, you know, uh, who would have been
See,
WCW?
I wouldn't know because to me, Hogan was on WCW
Well, he was he was once they were kind of free agents. Yeah, I mean I remember that too. The whole NWO and what was it, or was it that something like that, New World Order, and he was but that was when he was almost
yeah.
getting to be more of a has been. I'm talking uh the 80s WWF.
You see, I didn't really watch. I don't remember watching it so much then, and what I do remember was I was more of an Undertaker fan, and if it wasn't the
Well, oh
Undertaker,
yeah,
I
the
wasn't
Undertaker
watching
and
it.
Paul Bearer. I mean, oh yeah, you didn't want to miss when they were gonna just that whole deal with Paul Bearer sitting there basically doing the talking, and but I mean, when you said WWF to the average person that even knew what pro wrestling was, they thought of Hulk Hogan, the Hulkster, the yellow and gold trunks, that
Well,
that
everybody that
area.
thinks pro wrestling probably thinks of Hulk.
God, who else? Oh, God, now we're really shifting gears onto something, but it made me think, because yeah, you had. Well, actually, I'm playing this video game and I'm thinking of the arcades, and what was it? WWF, was it WrestleMania, or was it just WWF? But God, it was kind of a, well, this is quote 64-bit, but it was almost like this era, maybe a little earlier, that arcade game. It'd show up in Pizza Huts and stuff like that. I just remember back when Andre the Giant was still alive. I just remember the cut scenes. Like, Ted DiBiase. It's like, I'll give you my $1 million dream. And then old Mean Gene Orkelin, the announcer. But like, I don't remember a lot of WCW because I guess just didn't flip to it. But I knew other kids and stuff, peers, that watched it. I never watched any of those pay-per-views. That's another thing. So
I didn't, especially back then. I didn't.
Too expensive for one thing, and I didn't. Kids would have parties and stuff. The rich kids, and I think I went to one. And it was like it really wasn't that. I mean, the fun was being with your friends at a party, not really the show wasn't much different. Like it wasn't like you were getting some weird, incredible story or something.
Yeah.
Now let's see. Now was Mick Foley, was that WCW or WWF now?
He was I know he was WWF.
And then
I don't know if
was Steve
he ever
Austin?
started.
Was he WCW?
He didn't know.
Okay.
No, he was definitely WWF.
Okay. Well, God, who was on WCW that made it worth watching, other than like Sting? Because let's see,
He
the
was
Ultimate
like
Warrior.
that was the whole. They had Sting, they had NWO, but yeah, I mean, well, that's probably why they went under.
But see, like Ric Flair, woo, Ric Flair. He was.
I guess
was
technically
WWF,
they didn't
right?
get.
And then who was?
I guess technically they didn't go under.
Okay,
they got
I don't know
bought
if you can
out.
see
but...
me. Who was the the cross it up? Who was that? Because that was
that was WWF. That was
okay.
DX. Although X-Pac, who was part of that, actually, I can't remember what I was. Oh, I was watching, like, it popped up on my YouTube, and I happened to be watching the first start of NWO, and X-Pac was.
Oh, I think we lost our audio here. I believe we did. Well, I suppose it's we're having some technical difficulties here with the audio, so I think it's about time maybe we shut this down. It's been we've been recording, what is this, quite a while, so anyhow, if you liked what we talked about here, want to join in next time, well, get subscribed to wherever. YouTube, this is on my second channel, but subscribe to my main channel over on Twitch. Give me a follow. Make sure you follow the old Skull Crusher there. He streams from time to time. And anyway, I thank you for watching.